हेलो एंड वेलकम टू यूनिक कोडिंग हीरोज़। लाइक हमने अपने पास्ट ट्यूटोरियल में काफ़ी कुछ जावास के इंटरव्यूज क्वेश्चन डिस्कस कर लिए हैं। और हम आगे बढ़ते हुए हम लोग आज के ट्यूटोरियल में डिस्कस करेंगे जो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है, जैसे जावा में एक्सेप्शन किस तरह से हैंडल होता है, सिस्टम एक्सेप्शंस क्या होते हैं, फाइल रीड एंड राइट ऑपरेशंस कैसे काम करते हैं। तो आप लोग साथ में बने रहें, so let's move on. So like in today's tutorial is fully dedicated to exceptions, like system exceptions, file operations in Java. So let's have it like discussion about exceptions. So basically in Java, we have kind of like multiple kind of exceptions, like checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. So let's discuss about this all thing, like which are like what is what is checked exceptions and what is unchecked exceptions. So checked exceptions are basically that are checked at the time of compile time, like like if you see this piece of code where basically we have a kind of like public class exception example. Then we have a so it, so in this example we have shown like what is a checked exception, and checked as exceptions are basically is like IO exceptions, which is written in a try and block encountering an unchecked exception. So unchecked exception basically like array index and what. So here you will see we have a public class exception. Okay, so basically what is happening here, we have a public class static void string argument here, and inside this string argument we can see we have defined a file reader, and then a new file reader. We are reading a file, we are reading a file like a file txt file. And in try and catch block we have defined IO exception. So as a IO exception is a checked exception. So what it will do, it will, if something error happening while reading this file, it will go to this cast block, and it will get the e print trash. So here it will print the exception in an exception format. The e print trash is like it will print the format in exception error in the exception format. So again, then again it may be code can throw uncheck exception, might be something wrong, went something wrong, like arithmetic operation, while doing arithmetic operation something went wrong. So if that happen, then it will come to array index as unchecked exception. So see how it will happen. Suppose int number 123 and system number 5. Here we're printing number 5. So 5 is not there. Okay, so but it's trying to print 5. So in that case, it will throw an unchecked exception. Okay, so this is like a checked. This is the difference between checked exception and unchecked exception. So checked exceptions are IO exceptions, like we are aware like what is going to happen, but unchecked exception we are not sure, like in our code, it can happen either due to arithmetic operation, or maybe by we are dividing something. Okay, so we were dividing something, and which will leads to something wrong. So see here what happened. One more example. So we have we're dividing 10 from 0. So in that case, it will have a arithmetic exception. So you can understand, right? So arithmetic operations basically is arithmetic operation is example of unchecked exceptions. And like a example of checked exception is uh, is like where we are aware it's going to be like kind of like we are handling the checked exception. So how we, so like it's going to happen. So this IO exception is a checked exception, and the arithmetic operations, for example, is a unchecked exceptions. So moving on, we are we proceed to system exceptions. So what is system exception? System exceptions are often used to refer the exception that are thrown by the Java runtime or underlying a system, like rather than exceptions specific to a application code. So basically, system exceptions are referred to exceptions that are thrown by Java runtime, like null pointer exception, like array index exception. So null pointer exception basically that occur that try to access manipulate an object that is null. So null pointer exception is like that trying to access or manipulate any object reference that is null. So in that case, null pointer exception happen, and it's like arithmetic operations. So arithmetic operations. Suppose we discussed earlier, right? So arithmetic operations like we are dividing 10 by 0. So in that case, arithmetic operations, the arithmetic operations is that kind of operations is called arithmetic operations. And the array index bound exceptions, the exception thrown when you try to access element with an invalid index. Invalid. It occurs when the index is neither negative or greater than equal to array length. So that is called array index bound exceptions. So when we are working with IO exceptions, with input output exception, so this is also like this kind of questions is asked like what is like input output exceptions, what is IO exceptions. So you have to tell like IO exceptions are checked exception that represents an error condition during the input or output operation. So basically, it occurs when the reading from we're reading from or writing onto a file. In that case, exception happen. So suppose you're reading any file or you're writing to any file. In that case, the IO exceptions happen. That leads to IO exception. So yeah. So like uh, like in network communication, in case of network communication, the IO exception can also happen. So basically, IO exception is a kind of general exception that can be further specialized by a subclass to provide more specific information about the error. So the IO exceptions is a checked exceptions that represents an error condition during input or output operation. So the so input output operations, that input output operations is like a specific condition exception related to reading or writing. So input output exceptions has like kind of IO exceptions, like file not found exceptions, like EOF exceptions. So EOF exceptions also is like a kind of like another subclass of IO exceptions. So EOF exceptions basically is a subclass, and in the subsequent program we will discuss like the way it is defined. So there is a program you can see right here. So what we are doing here, like we are reading a file, input file, using a code using file stream input. So you can see we are reading the from the file and we are writing to the file as well. So in that we have put first of all we have put file not found exception in the cache block, and there we are printing it as. Then we have a UF exception. So as I mentioned, UF exception is the subclass of I exception. Okay, so again we have a input output exception in the cache block. So here you can understand that we have a try catch block potentially to handle the exceptions that are occurring during input output operations. So the input output operations in the sense like we are reading something from the file and we are or we are writing to the file. So we have managed a kind of block to handle the exceptions. So the exceptions which we discussed. So basically, we discussed like file operations and write operations in Java. We can perform such a kind of reading operations and writing operations from file using the Java I/O packages and the Java and the file reading. We can use file input stream along with the buffer reader. Buffer reader is efficient. Will read by line. Uh, so in this example, you can see we have used buffer reader, input out input file input stream IO exception stream reader input stream reader. So you can see we are reading a file if we input from text file, then buffer reader again. So we are like then created a file, and then we are reading the input stream, and then we have used buffer reader, like you're checking the while condition. If buffer reader is not null, then we are reading it line by line. So and then we have put a kind of like cache block here in the exception. So cache block, we have IO exceptions. So if it is like yeah, so like this we are handling the. So basically the exception which we are handling is for input output operations. So we have to understand, we input output operation, we have a IO exception, we have a IO exception, we have a EOF exception, and like we have this kind of exceptions, right? So the example, we created file input output stream to open the file, and buffer reader to read the file, and tried the resources to ensure that resources are properly closed after reading. So file writing, to write a file, we can use the file output stream and along with the buffer writer to efficient writing. So we have we are seeing an example this here. So what it is doing, like basically in this example we are creating input file output stream to open the file, and a buffer reader to write the data of the file, and the try to resource statement to use to ensure the same properly is closed. So what we did, we have we have created a file stream to read the file. Using file stream, we are reading the file input stream, output stream. To open first, we are trying to open the file, so that's why we have used file output stream. And then we are using buffer writer to write data to the file. Buffer writer basically will write to that file, and and try with assessment to use ensure that the resources are properly closed after the writing. So we are checking if it is properly closed after writing uh, string data hello world. Then we are checking if it is closed properly or not. Right, so and then we have a IO exception there to check, like if there is any something went wrong, then we will get a input output exception. Yeah, that's it for today. So in the coming tutorial we will be bringing some more videos in real time scenarios, so that it will be very helpful to you understand the in-depth knowledge. And yeah, don't so yeah, so we so please share and subscribe, so that I will bring some more tutorials for you to crack the interviews, and get enhance your like kind of like your knowledge in Java. Thank you very much.